Good morning, all. Welcome to our adult Sunday school class for our second Sunday in October on the 12th of 2025 of October. So let's see here. Let's get to our screen share and get to our class where we are. Let's see. That's what I want. That one right there. Okay, so we are in the book of Numbers. We will be picking up in Numbers chapter, let's see. We'll actually be picking up in Deuteronomy chapter 1 if you want to find your way there. So we are with the Lord's people as they have arrived in Kadesh Barnea in the year 1445 BC, making their way out from Mount Sinai and getting ready to spy out the promised land ahead of them. So here in 1445 BC, we're towards the end of May, heading into June. On the Hebrew calendar, it'd be the month Iyar of 2317 year on their calendar. 1445 BC, Middle Bronze Age, level 2B. At this snapshot moment in time, China is being led by Emperor Wai Ren of their Shang dynasty. Egypt is split. We've got two dynasties at the same time. We've got, as we see here, we can go to this one. We've got in the red triangle here, we have this split between the colors. We've got the 13th dynasty in the orange and the 14th dynasty in the green there happening at the same time. The 13th dynasty has been pushed down to the south by these invaders coming in from the north, these outside foreigner Hyksos, who include some of the Amalekites, taking advantage of the collapse of Egypt during the 13th dynasty after the Exodus plagues and whatnot. And the pharaoh of the 13th dynasty is Pharaoh Ibi something Matre. We don't have his whole name. And this 13th dynasty is during their second intermediate period after the high point of the Middle Kingdom with Joseph's Pharaoh Amenemhat III, who had the dreams. And later on will be the next high point, the New Kingdom, which will have Pharaoh King Tut, and will have Ramses the Great and all of that. He will be Shishak, who deals with Solomon's son Rehoboam later on. We're in this low point, this dip, the second intermediate period, 13th dynasty pushed to the south, 14th dynasty in the north, and their pharaoh is Ya'amu Nubuswari or Nubuswari Ya'amu, and that is his signature seal, his scarab seal there, so indicating him and his name. Yeah.
I know you told us once before, I believe, but that symbol shows up a lot. And it's what the circle, the line, and the cross. It looks like cross bars, whatever.
Yeah, that specific symbol right there.
Yes, and one at the bottom.
Yeah, at the bottom too.
What does that represent?
That's called the Ankh, Ankh in our writing, and that is like the symbol of life. And the name, and sometimes the K at the end is silent. It's an Anea. In fact, when Joseph was given an Egyptian name in the book of Genesis by the Pharaoh, the name given to him, Zephanath Pa Anea, it's that Pa Ankh, it's referring to what that symbol refers to, that life. And basically, the name in Egyptian that he's given is here Joseph, whose name is the one who lives, which is interesting because Joseph had been thought dead.
Yeah.
And so here's Pharaoh knowing his story and calling him the one who lives, and also brought life to Egypt when they're facing the famine and all that stuff. So short answer is that what means it's the Ankh, it's a symbol of life. So good question there. And we do see that quite often. So this is Egyptian hieroglyphs and the unique scarab seal of the foreign pharaoh Nubusari Ya'amu. So we are with the Lord's people. Again, finally making it to Kadesh Barnea, described a couple different ways, and we'll get to that. But also at this point in time, Babylon's being led by King Amidatana, great-grandson of Hammurabi. The Lord's people and the tribe of Judah, through whom Christ will come, they have Aminadab, I'm guessing his age at about 99, and Nahshon, now the leader of the tribe, I'm guessing his age about 40. Nahshon is the 28th generation of Adam. Let's see, I want to be right. We'll talk about that one, yeah. So here's the journey they've made. Nahshon, 28th generation of Adam. He will be grandpa to Boaz, who marries Ruth, and he will be third great grandpa to David. So making it here in the yellow to Kadesh Barnea, it's called in Numbers 12, Numbers 33, and Deuteronomy chapter 1, three different things. In Numbers 33, it's Moseroth. In Numbers 12, let's go ahead and open the scriptures here. Take a look myself, get this all situated. In Numbers 12, it's the wilderness of Paran, as we see described here. And then in Deuteronomy 1, it's Kadesh. So which is it? The answer is yes, all of those. So why these different things? So Dr. Glenn Fritz describes for us one of the names here, the Moseroth, that's in Numbers chapter 33. So here we're looking at it sideways now. So north, that's south, and the top is west, and the bottom is east. So looking at it sideways here, they're in this kind of green area. Notice the wilderness of Paran, Edom over here, Canaan here. So we'll get to Deuteronomy chapter 1 in a sec here, but here's what Dr. Fritz has to say about the use of the word Moseroth in Numbers 33. Moseroth is used as an epithet or a name placeholder for this initial visit here to Kadesh. Based on its root verb, that meaning Moseroth means chastisements, referring to the punishment of the Hebrew multitude for their ignoble, not very noble, behavior at Kadesh. So what's going to happen here, as with these spies being sent out, whatnot, is how the name got referred to as Moseroth, a place of chastisements, because here there's going to be a chastisement because of what's going to happen with the spies going out here. So what about Kadesh? Well, he also observes that in the Bible, Kadesh occurs 18 times and Kadesh Barnea 10 times. And apparently there's no geographical difference between those terms. Kadesh usually means holy, but it can also mean set apart, separate, which is kind of what holy means anyway, based on its root verb kadash. Now for Kadesh Barnea, in Arabic, Barnea means a clay vessel. So if we synthesize those ideas, put them together, Kadesh Barnea would be a set apart vessel. So an area that's kind of set off to itself. So topographically, we see here, it's enclosed in an out of the way location. So this Zin Valley here in the green here fits that pretty well. So it's a natural description for how the place looks. So that's pretty much all fitting with what the Bible describes for Moseroth, Kadesh Barnea in this wilderness of Paran. So this Zin Valley, about 30 miles west of the edge of Mount Seir here, the range here, where the Edomites are, the descendants of Esau. And in fact, skipping ahead here, let's see, let's go down to Esau, Mount Seir. So there is the Mount Seir range. That's what it kind of looks like here. Mount Seir. See the people traveling by it. But that's this whole mountain range that they are walking by and around. Not for the last time. They'll be coming around there again. Let's see. Good mountain range here. Yeah. So this is a good, you do that right there. Okay. So Mount Seir, Edom equals Mount Seir. We're told in Genesis 36, verse 8, thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. Mount Seir also synonymous with Shur, which means the wall. That's a mountain range on that western side of the Jordan there. And so we see that. So here they are. They made it up to Kadesh in the yellowish here, and they're going to be sending the spies up along this red trail here in to explore. So we've got the solid line here. That's the modern boundary between the nation of Israel and Egypt, which includes the Sinai Peninsula there. This dotted line is the boundary for the promised land that they are given. And so they are outside of it. And notice we'll talk about this in this circle here in the orange. It says biblical Negev, but down here it says modern Negev. So we'll talk about that as we go. We got cities of Beersheba here that we looked at a little bit on Wednesday night with Abraham. Arad and Hebron will be mentioned. So we're going to talk about those things. So first, we'll be in Deuteronomy chapter 1. And we can hold a place there. We'll be back and forth with numbers. So Deuteronomy chapter 1, Moses, after the fact, looks back on this time and reminds them of this. So Deuteronomy chapter 1, let's look at verses 21 and 22. Deuteronomy 1, 21 and 22. Moses says this. Deuteronomy 1:21, see, the Lord your God has placed the land before you. Go up, take possession, just as the Lord, the God of your fathers, has spoken to you. Do not fear or be dismayed. Verse 22, then all of you approached me and said, let us send men ahead of us, so that they may spy out the land for us, and bring back to us word of the way by which we should go up, and the cities which we should enter. Pause there. You can hold a place in Deuteronomy 1. We'll be back. Now I can tie this in with Numbers chapter 13. So that was what the people wanted, and we see here in Numbers 13 that the Lord is good with this. Numbers 13, verses 1 and 2. Numbers 13:1. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, verse 2, send out men for yourself to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am going to give the sons of Israel. You shall send a man from each of their fathers' tribes, everyone a leader among them. Okay, so far so good. Hold your place in Numbers 13, flip back to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 1, verse 23, the plan pleased me, and I took 12 of your men, one man for each tribe, which is just what the Lord said. Flipping back to Numbers, picking up in verse 3, so Moses sent them from the wilderness of Paran at the command of the Lord, all of the men who were heads of the sons of Israel. These were their names. From the tribe of Reuben, Shammua the son of Zakur. From the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat the son of Hori. From the tribe of Judah, Caleb the son of Jephunneh. From the tribe of Issachar, Egal the son of Joseph. From the tribe of Ephraim, Hoshea the son of Nun. That's Joshua, as we'll see. From the tribe of Benjamin, Palti the son of Raphu. From the tribe, let me go back. Verse 8, from the tribe of Ephraim, Hoshea the son of Nun. Verse 9, from the tribe of Benjamin, Palti the son of Raphu. From the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel the son of Sodi. From the tribe of Joseph, from the tribe of Manasseh, Gadi the son of Suzi. From the tribe of Dan, Amiel the son of Gemali. From the tribe of Asher, Sethur the son of Michael. From the tribe of Naphtali, Nabi the son of Vapshi. And from the tribe of Gad, Gul the son of Machi. These are the names of the men whom Moses sent to spy out the land, but Moses called Hoshea, the son of Nun, Joshua. Verse 17, when Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, he said to them, go up there into the Negev, then go up into the hill country. See what the land is like, and whether the people who live in it are strong or weak, whether they are few or many. And how is the land in which they live? Is it good or bad? And how are the cities in which they live? Are the people in open camps or in fortifications? And how is the land? Is it productive or unproductive? Are there trees in it or not? And show yourselves courageous and get some of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the season of the first ripe grapes. So they went up and spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin as far as Rehob at Lebo-Homath. When they had gone up into the Negev, they came to Hebron, where Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, were. Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. Then they came to the valley of Eshcol, and from there they cut off a branch with a single cluster of grapes, and they carried it on a pole between two men, with some of the pomegranates and the figs. That place was called the valley of Eshcol because the cluster of which the sons of Israel cut off from there. The name means cluster of grapes. Now hold your place there, Numbers 13, and we'll go to one more verse in Deuteronomy 1, verse 24. Then they turned and went up into the hill country, came to the valley of Eshcol, and spied it out. Okay, so we can take a look back in Numbers 13 now, after seeing the companion verses in Deuteronomy 1. Now, this wilderness that's described here that they are in, that they're heading out from. We see this area here, this wilderness of Zin, and there we see the Zin in this area here. So the meaning may bear witness of how things have kind of changed. Zim is from a verb that isn't used too often, meaning to prick. There's a related word, Zena, that refers to a thorn. So both messages suggest that Zin is a pointed formation. Let's go down here. We'll see what we're talking about here. So here's that wilderness of Zin. And here we see this pointy mountain here. This will be Mount Hor in the Bible. Its modern name is Jebel Madura. And there's a picture of it. You can see kind of the point there. Spoiler alert, this is where Moses' brother Aaron will be buried. So Zin is a landmark near the Dead Sea in the boundary of Canaan. As we zoom out here. See, this is Kadesh, and they'll be heading out from here. So that's where Mount Hor is. So this wilderness of Zin is named for that pointiness of what will be Mount Hor. So this notable pointed elevation here in this area confirms this Zin watershed. This is the wilderness of Zin from the Bible. So Dr. Fritz believes that this is that mountain that, as we saw, it's got that steep, chalky peak, the flat top, 850-foot elevation above sea level. Its crest is 500 feet above the surrounding plain. So that's Mount Hor in the area where we get the wilderness of Zin from that peak there here. So that's about 850 feet, and that's 500 feet above the rest, as we see here. But now going back to this spy route that they're going to be taking here, that we read about in Numbers 13 here, and a little bit of Deuteronomy chapter 1. There we go. So let's talk about this here. It's important to recognize, as we see on the map, the biblical Negev differs markedly from the Negev term that's applied to this triangular section here in the southern desert of modern Israel. So what's the difference here, and why a difference? To the Hebrew patriarchs, the Negev was the grassy, dry rolling plain in the Beersheba vicinity, later settled by the tribes of Judah and Simeon. This is the southernmost of the natural divisions of Palestine here. We see the border here with the dotted line here. This is that steppe region forming a transition down south into the true desert. So the area immediately south of this Negev is less desirable for habitation and for agriculture, which explains why it's not included in the territory of Canaan and Judah. So that makes sense. So the biblical Negev right here is the primary reference point for the southern boundary of Canaan and Judah. It appears 10 times in these border descriptions. But you may have noticed, if you have a King James Bible, in Numbers 13:17, when Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, he said to them, go up there into the Negev. Yours may say, go to the south, if you have a King James Bible. In fact, that's pretty much what the King James does. The King James is wrong. Wrong. The King James translation there is in error. Now, does that mean the Bible is wrong? No. The original writing of Moses is perfect, inspired by the Holy Spirit. This comes from a misunderstanding of a Negev. A Negev is not a compass point. Negev is actually referring to a specific area. So again, the biblical Negev primary reference point for the southern bound of Canaan, Judah, appears 10 times in these descriptions, like we said. Unfortunately, Bibles mistranslate Negev as south in these critical verses. And by doing that, that confuses the position of the border and its relationship to Kadesh Barnea. Remember, this is where they're at, right here in Kadesh. So they're going, notice the spies are going up. Well, up is not south. So the King James is wrong. King James says they go south. They don't go south. So it's a mistranslation of the word Negev. The word Negev actually simply means parched, based on the root verb. Although it's in the Hebrew Bible, in the Hebrew language, Negev is in there 112 times. It is nowhere in the King James Bible. So because of that, readers are understandably ignorant and not informed of the presence of the Negev and its importance to the geography here. Now, there are some newer Bible versions that start to include it. My NASB has Negev here. But most Bibles, when these specific verses talking about the boundaries, don't have that word Negev. Professor Emeritus named Anson Rainey at the Tel Aviv University, he notes the habit of translating Negev as south or southland, and he emphasizes Negev is a place, it's not a direction. He says this, all indications are that the biblical Negev in the modern Beersheba Basin and the Besor drainage rates, that's it. Someone at Kadesh Barnea was not in the Negev. He had to go up to the Negev. So in other words, contrary to the King James wording, the spies traveled north from Kadesh through the Negev in order to reach Hebron. This excursion is mapped out right here. If one adheres to the mistranslation of Negev as south in these passages, geographical nonsense results. Boom, they go down south here. Well, there's no promised land down here in the south. From Kadesh Barnea, they go north into the Negev. So, any questions, reactions, thoughts, or comments on the Hebrew wording here versus the mistranslation in the King James and what's actually taking place in Numbers 13? All good? Everyone's okay with this and gets that and is clear? All right, so they're going north here. And this is why we don't worship Bible translations. We know that the Bible itself is perfect and infallible. We just are aware of these different things happening here. So David Roll, Egyptologist, makes this observation about verse 22. Numbers 13:22, when they'd gone up into the Negev, they came to Hebron, right up there, where Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmi, the descendants of Anak, were. Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. So the Anakim, as described there, ruled in the region of the Negev as far as Hebron. Sheshai, mentioned there, spoiler alert, he will be a future lesser Hyksos king named Sheshi. So he is going to actually rule Egypt, he's now over in this area. He's going to be a foreigner ruling the north of Egypt. He's over here. So in the western Negev, so they're going to be coming over this way. He will have principal bases as his territory expands. He will have a base, let's see, over here at Tel El Farah in the Wadi Gaza. So Sheshi is very powerful with his two brothers, the three of them. So he's going to have territory way over here. There's Kadesh. He's on the other side of it. Sharuhin is going to be very important to him as well. So he's actually going to be ruling Egypt remotely. Here's where the Hebrews left Egypt. So he's going to be ruling. Egypt is so weakened, he's going to be able to rule it from his post over here as a foreign pharaoh in the north. So his brothers, Ahiman and Talmi, may have ruled from Debir, which was either Tel Bet Mersem right here, or not too far from it, Kiryat Sefer. So these are different possibilities for Debir. And then, of course, Arba will be later in Hebron. Hebron is where Abraham and the patriarchs are buried here. Very famous city, rightfully so. So the spies go all the way up to Hebron. All of this was built after the fact. But this is modern day Hebron, where the spies go. So unfortunately, that doesn't give us much to look at for what the spies saw, but they give their report and we will see that. So before I go any further, I'm going to pause right here and ask you guys, when it comes to this point in the Bible story, with the spies being sent out to explore the land before the Israelites are heading up in full, with these spies sent out, what do you know, what do you recall about what happens with the spies, what they see, what happens when they come back, and what goes on from there?
So they went out.
They went out.
They said they were giants. When they connected, said there was giants.
There were giants in the land. We were like little tiny people. Yeah, they got grapes that were real big. Figs, yep, yep. They had to carry them on that pole, yeah. Great. So, how many did Numbers 13 tell us went up there?
Well.
12. 12 spies went up.
Said it was good.
Only 2 said it was good,
That would go or take. it.
that we could take this. And remember the names of those 2? Scroll through verses 4 through 15.
In moderate.
I'm sorry, Numbers 13, verse 6 and 6 and 16 will give us the 6, 8, and 16 will give us the answer. Numbers 13, verse 6. From the tribe of Judah, Caleb. So Caleb is one of the 12 who will give a good report, and the other from verse 8. From the tribe of Ephraim, Hoshea, who's the son of Nun, who are told in verse 16, Moses called Hoshea the son of Nun Joshua. So Joshua and Caleb, Joshua from the tribe of Ephraim of Joseph, Caleb from the tribe of Judah, those 2 out of the 12 will give a good report. And so what happens with the 2.5 million or so Israelites who listen to these 12 spies coming back? 10 don't give a good report because there are giants on the land, but 2 of the 10 say, we can take them. How did Israel respond to all this? They were afraid. So what happened then?
And God got angry with them.
God got angry with them. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And so what was the result? Yeah, they had to wander the desert for the rest of the, get up to the 40 years. So 38, 39 years, they have to wander in the desert. What has to happen before they can enter the promised land? That generation has to die in the wilderness. Wow. Yep. See, y'all know this stuff. I know we've all slept since we last talked about it, but yeah, that's exactly. So let's take a look. Let's pick up in Numbers 13, verse 25. Numbers 13, 25. When they returned from spying out the land at the end of 40 days. In fact, let me go back to the map here showing the spy route. Put that up here since that's what we're looking at. Spy route. So when they returned from spying out the land at the end of 40 days, they went on and came to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation of the sons of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. And they brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. So they reported to him and said, we came into the land where you sent us, and it certainly does flow with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who live in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. And indeed, we saw the descendants of Anak there. Amalek is living in the land of the Negev. The Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites are living in the hill country. And the Canaanites are living by the sea and by the side of the Jordan. Verse 30, then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, we should by all means go up and take possession of it, for we will certainly prevail over it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people because they are too strong for us. So they brought a bad report of the land which they had spied out to the sons of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to spy out is a land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people whom we saw in it are people of great stature. We also saw the Nephilim there. The sons of Anak are part of the Nephilim. And we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so were we in their sight. Wow. So that's Numbers 13. We have a companion passage. Hold your place here. Back in Deuteronomy chapter 1. Moses referring back to this. Deuteronomy chapter 1. Same verses, 25 to 33. Deuteronomy 1:25. And they took some of the fruit of the land in their hands and brought it down to us. They also brought us back a report and said, the land that the Lord our God is about to give us is good. Yet you were unwilling to go up. Instead, you rebelled against the command of the Lord your God, and you grumbled in your tents and said, because the Lord hates us, he has brought us out of the land of Egypt to hand us over to the Amorites to destroy us. Where can we go up? Our brothers have made our hearts melt by saying, the people are bigger and taller than we. The cities are large and fortified up to heaven. And besides, we saw the sons of the Anakim there. But I said to you, do not be terrified, nor fear them. The Lord your God, who goes before you, will himself fight for you, just as he did for you in Egypt before your eyes, and in the wilderness, where you saw how the Lord your God carried you, just as a man carries his son, on all of the road which you have walked until you came to this place. Yet, in spite of all this, you did not trust the Lord your God, who goes before you on your way, to seek out a place for you to make camp, in the fire by night, to show you the way by which you should go, and in the cloud by day. So, the people brought back the report, and the spies brought back the report, and the people were not happy. Here's an interesting question to ask. So 10 of the spies said, this is bad. 2 of the spies, Caleb and Joshua, said, this is good. What did the 10 spies who discouraged the rest of the nation of Israel here, what did the 10 spies get right in their report?
That it was a land of milk and honey.
It was a land of milk and honey. Yep. What else did they say that was right and true?
Well, they said the people did.
The people were big. Yes, that was right and true. Something else they said that was right and true. They said, we cannot do this. And you know what? They were right. They could not do this. They were not asked to do this. They were not supposed to do this. What were they supposed to do? Follow God. As Moses said, he's the one who will give you the victory. They were right to say, them giants are too big for us. So what's the lesson for us? It is okay if some of the things we deal with in life, whether it's people or circumstances or situations, it's okay for us to say, that's too big for me. That's not being unfaithful. That's not being a bad Christian or a bad Baptist. That's being honest. That's okay. If they had stopped their negativity there and then gone on, that would have been, and moved forward, that would have been okay. That's still an honest report. We are not called to lie and say things are all rosy and cheery when they're not always rosy and cheery. We can be honest and say, and that's part of our witness, is that, yeah, we got some tough roads ahead of us. We got some tough things in front of us to deal with. And we can even say, it's not in me to do this. Beautiful example of Daniel and Joseph, both with their interpretations of dreams, basically in the same phrasing, said when they were called in for the interpretation, hey, we hear you can do this. The answer was, and I believe Daniel specifically says this, it is not in me. I'm not the one able to do this, what all your soothsayers and magicians couldn't do, but God's the one who knows dreams. God's the one who does this. And so I'm not enough to do what's in front of me to do, but God is. And God is with me as I'm following him. And if he is saying, this is the way, let's go, okay, I trust and have faith. He's led me this far, as Moses reminded them in chapter 1. He did everything that you just saw in Egypt. He's led you all the way through this wilderness up to this place. He was with us on Mount Sinai for 11 months and 5 days. So you all have seen, he's still right there. There's that pillar of fire. There's that cloud during the day. So God is still leading. This can be done. Caleb and Joshua said, yeah, they're big bad guys there, but to God, they're nothing. And he's the one calling us. We can do this with God. So yeah, so it's okay to admit things are bigger than us, but don't stop there because God is bigger than anything. And so any other thoughts or reactions or observations on this moment here? Jonathan Kahn actually makes an observation about Deuteronomy 1:31, which said, Deuteronomy 1:31, In the wilderness, where you saw how the Lord your God carried you, just as a man carries his son on all of the road which you have walked until you came to this place. Maybe think of that footprints poem if you want. Jonathan Kahn makes this observation in Return of the Gods, talking about the man carrying his son. So the way the Bible views life and children and the weak, in the Bible, the way that care is described, it couldn't be more different than the pagan world that's around them. From the very opening chapters of the Bible, it's recognized human life's created in the image of God. So every human life, whether young or old, male or female, strong or weak, rich or poor, healthy or infirm, every life is of infinite value. So when they see what's going on in the nations around them, with the slaughtering of the children and the worship of Moloch and all that stuff, according to the God, that's forbidden, that's abhorrent, that's an abomination. The Lord, in fact, carries the nation as a man carries his son. Intimate love and protection of your offspring and provision and deliverance. So a very important contrast with the condition of the nations around them. And I appreciate the tie-in with Wednesdays as we are starting to look in the Avatar Bible study with all the false gods of Egypt, all the false gods of India at the time, with the expansion of Hinduism at the time, in the same time frame of the wilderness journey here, from the 1500s into the 1400s BC here. All that's going on around them, while the Lord has a unique, he's the one true Lord God, having one people that he's calling others to come be part of, using them as a light to the nations, as we read in Isaiah chapters 48 through 50, the Lord always wanting that. And so we see here this beautiful, unique work with these people, contrary to everything else in the world around them. So as the nation of Israel, have the Jewish people therefore been the oddballs? Have they been the weird ones, not always fitting, not always belonging, but always kind of standing up? Yeah. And so have Christians been looked at that way too? Yeah. Part of the Judeo-Christian faith, serving the one true God, means his ways are not the ways of the world. And so his values are not going to be the world's values. And so we're going to be of a different approach, of a different mindset, of a different value system, of a different attitude than those. And we pray that that's an invitation and an encouragement to those who recognize the goodness of that. But for those who want to do their own thing, live and let live, they're going to do their thing. Our job is to make the offer and to continue our faithfulness as he calls us, even into things that seem impossible for us that aren't impossible for him. As he said in Isaiah, is the Lord's arm too short that he cannot save? Can he not redeem? Can he not restore and redeem? Absolutely he can. He's done it so many times in my life and yours, and he is far from done. So good encouragement there. Let's see. That's actually, let's go ahead with Numbers 14, and we can wind down here for today. Continuing on with the people's reaction as Moses described in Deuteronomy chapter 1. So Numbers chapter 14, let's see here, verse 1. Numbers 14:1. Then all the congregation raised their voices and cried out, and the people wept that night. And all the sons of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron. And the entire congregation said to them, if only we had died in the land of Egypt, or even if we had died in this wilderness. I'll pause right there. I put an asterisk right there. And to that asterisk, I wrote, careful what you ask for.
Yeah.
Guess what? Yeah. If only we had died in this wilderness. Verse 3. So why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become plunder. Would it not be better for us to return to Egypt? So they said to one another, let's appoint a leader and return to Egypt. Let's pause right there. So I'll ask the obvious question, what's wrong with this picture? Say that again, Brother Clay. Everything. Thank you. Right. Going against the Lord for starters, yeah. They didn't learn.
Very good reception back to Egypt.
Don't think they'll have really good reception when they get back to Egypt. That's a great point. Yeah. kind of forgetting that whole slavery part. They were saying, hey, they fed us for free. Really? Was that free? Really? Slavery? Yeah. Right. You're gonna have to take the long way around back. Yeah. So there's that. But notice these things they're afraid of. Why is the Lord, verse 3, why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? Well, we know what happens. The next generation goes in. Does the next generation fall by the sword? No. So what they're afraid of isn't going to happen. The Lord's not going to let them fall by the sword. Our wives and our little ones will become plunder. Is that what happens? No. In fact, as the Lord's going to say, your little ones who you were using as an excuse, they're going to rise up and man up and do what you didn't do, what you chickened out on. They're going to be the ones to succeed where you failed. When, of course, wouldn't it be better to go back to Egypt? No, it would not. Verse 4, so they said to one another, let's appoint a leader and return to Egypt. Yeah, you need to appoint a leader because you don't already have one. No, they already have one. The one the Lord appointed, Moses, yeah. So, but Moses wasn't giving them the answer they wanted, so they wanted another leader to give them the answer they wanted. This happened to Jeremiah centuries later, dealing with Egypt when they were under Babylon, and the poor people and the remnants were left behind while most of the people were deported to Babylon when they conquered Jerusalem. The people said, okay, Jeremiah, let's talk. What's up here? And they had actually killed the governor that they had put in charge. And now they were afraid of Babylon. So they go to Jeremiah, and Jeremiah says, you know what? The Lord says that stick it out. Babylon's not going to come down and wipe you all out in revenge for killing the governor Gedaliah. In fact, just stay here. The people said, after they had first approached Jeremiah and said, whatever the Lord says to you, we will do. Jeremiah says, stick it out, see it through with Babylon. They say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to appoint another leader and we're going to go down to Egypt and we're going to drag you with us. And they did. And Jeremiah even said, when they got to Egypt, he said, see the stone here? You think you're running from Babylon? Guess what? King of Babylon's going to set up a throne right here where I put this stone. So you're not running from anything. The problem is you're really running from the Lord. And so, yeah, Jeremiah got drugged with them just as Joshua and Caleb got drugged around for the remainder of these 40 years when they were ready to go from the start. And so, yeah, bad answer there. But let's continue with verse 5. Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces in the presence of all the assembly of the congregation of the sons of Israel. And Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, of those who had spied out the land, tore their clothes. And they spoke with all the congregation of the sons of Israel, saying, the land which we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord is pleased with us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not fear the people of the land, for they will be our prey. Their protection is gone from them, and the Lord is with us. Do not fear them. But all the congregation said to stone them with stones. Then the glory of the Lord appeared in the tent of meeting to all the sons of Israel. So kudos to Joshua and Caleb. They implored the people, tried to intercede for the people. Hey, wait, stop, don't do this. God's with us. They've lost their protection. God is with us. We can do this. The people's response is, let's stone them. And then the Lord makes his presence known, and that kind of shuts everyone up. And we go into verse 11. The Lord said to Moses, how long will this people be disrespectful to me? How long will they not believe in me, despite all the signs that I've performed in their midst? I will strike them with plague and dispossess them, and I will make you into a nation greater and mightier than they. Sounds like a good offer, right? Think Moses is about done with these people? Verse 13. Then Moses said to the Lord, then the Egyptians will hear of it. For by your strength you brought this people up from their midst. And they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land. They have heard that you, Lord, are in the midst of this people, because you, Lord, are seen eye to eye, while your cloud stands over them. And you go before them in a pillar of cloud by day and in a pillar of fire by night. Now, if you put this people to death all at once, then the nations who have heard of your fame will say, since the Lord could not bring this people into the land which he promised them by oath, he slaughtered them in the wilderness. So now, please, let the power of the Lord be great, just as you have declared, saying, the Lord is slow to anger and abundant in mercy, forgiving wrongdoing and violation of his law. But he will by no means leave the guilty unpunished, inflicting the punishment of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations. Please forgive the guilt of this people in accordance with the greatness of your mercy, just as you also have forgiven this people from Egypt even until now. Verse 20, so the Lord said, I have forgiven them in accordance with your word. However, as I live, all the earth will be filled with the glory of the Lord. Certainly all the people who have seen my glory and my signs which I performed in Egypt and in the wilderness, yet have put me to the test these 10 times and have not listened to my voice, shall by no means see the land which I swore to their fathers. Nor shall any of those who were disrespectful to me to see it. But as for my servant Caleb, because he had a different spirit and has followed me fully, I will bring him into the land which he entered, and his descendants shall take possession of it. We'll stop there for today. So Moses intercedes, says, Lord, this is about your witness to the nations, as your faithfulness. It's not about the faithfulness of the people. Have mercy. So the Lord says, yeah, I'll have mercy. I'm not going to strike them all with the plague. I'm not going to kill them all right now. We'll let them die of natural causes over the course of time, as we'll see here. But he says, but there will be consequences. I'm going to have mercy, but there's still consequences. So we'll talk more about that next week, the difference between mercy and consequences. So they miss out on entering the promised land, but the Lord doesn't strike them dead in this instant here. But Caleb, and we'll see it also applies to Joshua, will be delivered, will be honored, and Caleb and Joshua will enter the promised land where their companions will not. So pausing right there for this morning, any initial reactions, thoughts, comments, and questions to the negative reaction of the people, the intercession of Moses, and God's response to Moses' intercession there?
The thing, they would have went over there, they would have missed all those problems.
Yeah, they could have bypassed all those problems by just doing what God says. Yeah, absolutely. So we make, when we, first we have to make sure we're hearing the Lord clearly. Then when we hear the Lord clearly, we have no more excuses. And so either we're going to step into what the Lord has laid open for us and trust him, or we're not. And as we see scripturally throughout the examples and in our own lives, we can testify, yeah, it's always worked out better when I just stepped out when the Lord said step out, or stayed when he said stay, go when he says go. So we'll pick up talking about that a little more next week, and appreciate your contributions very, very much and engagement. And for now, we'll go ahead and stop our screen share and stop our recording for this edition of our Adult Sunday School class, and we will get ready to go before the Lord in song together.